Chapter 1. The Letter. April 2018. Harriet Parker folded the letter into a neat square and tucked it back in the plastic wallet with her passport. She leant against the window, cupped her chin in her palm, and stared as the landscape rushed past. "It doesn't matter how many times you look at that letter," said Chester in his slow Californian drawl. "It won't change a thing." "I know, but I can't stop thinking about it. Can you imagine how lonely she must have felt? I knew something was wrong. I should have made more of an effort." "You did." "It's kind of you to say, but it's not true." Harriet frowned. "Besides, you weren't at the church. You didn't see what it was like. Horrible, horrible." She sank deeper into her seat. "It was just me, 3 elderly parishioners, and a couple of backpackers clutching a guidebook. Not much of a legacy, is it?" Harriet focused on the landscape outside the train window and shook away the thought. The small family thing had never bothered her before. To her it was normal, all she had ever known. But now? She wriggled in her seat. Now it made her mother's passing seem more final. Her one remaining link to the past was gone, severed forever. She had never had much of a family history to begin with. Now she had none. "I'm sure your mother—" Chester hesitated. Harriet turned to look at him, her green eyes ready to accuse. "I'm sure she didn't mean to cut you out. Of her life, I mean." "How can you possibly know what she wanted?" Harriet asked. "You never even met her." "That's hardly my fault." The train rattled over a level crossing, and the carriage lurched to the right. Harriet's head bumped against the window. She turned back to Chester and squeezed his hand. "I'm sorry. That was harsh. I'm just frustrated." "I understand." "No, you don't. I'm frustrated for her, not me. I mean, what is her legacy? What was it all about, her life?" Chester nodded towards the plastic wallet on the small shelf below the window. "Isn't that why you're here, to find out?" Harriet grunted. "Yes, of course, but answers seem unlikely. I don't know much about the law, but wouldn't you expect Mum's solicitors to know what was going on? That meeting last week with fusty old Mr. Asquith was an utter waste of time. He just handed me a stupid letter of introduction to Mrs. van der Milner, whoever she is, and an open return ticket to Amsterdam. It sounds like the plot line in an Agatha Christie thriller." "Oh, come on. What's not to like?" said Chester, using one of his favourite new British phrases. "You get a mini break out of it. All you got to do is meet this woman at 4, then we get a whole weekend to enjoy ourselves. You can show me your old haunts." I suppose. The ticket to Amsterdam had infuriated and intrigued Harriet in equal measure. It was typical of Caron to assume her daughter could drop everything at a moment's notice. But Harriet had changed. She had grown up and made something of her life. She had retrained and got a proper job as an executive assistant at a tech company in the city. With her unruly brown hair chopped into a sharp bob, and a new working wardrobe from the cancer research charity shop on the Fulham Road, she loved her new life. And she loved Chester. Her boss in public, lover in private, but perhaps not so private anymore. Next week she was moving to California with him. Well, not exactly with him, but that could only be a matter of time. He lived in San Francisco, but had been working out of London on a leadership exchange program for the past 11 months. Harriet had been allocated to support him, and now believed in love at first sight. It was his eyes she had noticed first, deep blue like an alpine lake, framed by lashes to die for. He was 6 feet tall, with salt and pepper hair styled in a perky tinting quiff. He had the warm, chocolatey voice of a late-night DJ, and she marvelled at his neat American teeth. A year later, and here they were on the train together for all the world to see. He had dressed up the visit to Amsterdam as a business trip, but Harriet knew it was far more than that. This was them coming out. They were officially a couple. Chester glanced at his watch, then out of the window. 4 tower blocks loomed into view. "Looks like we've hit the suburbs. Not long now, I guess." As though on cue, a tannoy crackled and a bored voice announced, "Amsterdam Centraal Station, ein Station, Amsterdam Centraal Station." Around them people shot out of their seats and leaped into the corridor. They tugged bags down from the overhead racks and jockeyed for position at the doors. Chester kissed Harriet on the cheek and stroked her hair. "Well," he said, "does it feel like home yet?" Harriet gazed out of the window and considered. Did it? The train snaked round a long bend, and the station's domed roof came into view. An intricate design of metal and glass, it soared high above the platforms in an elegant arc. It was magnificent, beautiful and daring, one of her favourite landmarks. This had been her first glimpse of the city 28 years before. She felt a lurch in the pit of her stomach. The train braked hard and shuddered to a stop. Chester stood up and shrugged on his coat. Harriet leaned forward and continued to stare out of the window. She watched passengers swarm from the carriage and hurry away down the platform. Chester retrieved their bags and edged sideways along the corridor toward the exit. "Time to get out," he said, "or you'll be heading straight back to England." She swiveled her knees, jumped up, and brushed the creases from her skirt. What was she going to find here? Did she even want to know? The wall of sound hit Harriet as she stepped from the train. A guard on the neighbouring platform blew his whistle, and she was transported back to October 1983. "Hey, you man, you!" Her mother hailed a porter leaning against the wall. "Hello, you! Yes, you! We need help with our luggage. Take us to the taxi rank." Harriet had never heard her mother speak in this tone before. Bewildered, she watched her mother thread her way through the crowds with the porter in her wake. He manhandled the cart up the ramp, veering left and right to avoid the ankles of people crowding the station hall, while her mother bellowed instructions. Harriet trailed at a distance, the strap of her leather satchel cutting into her new blazer, head bowed low with embarrassment. She hadn't wanted to wear her school uniform, but the blazer had cost a lot of money, and her mother had insisted she get as much wear as possible out of it. She winced as she passed a group of girls crowded around a vending machine. They looked about her age. They wore rolled-up jeans, cut-off t-shirts, and denim jackets draped over one shoulder. The cool girls. They pointed at Harriet and sniggered as she struggled past. She wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Harriet shrugged the memory away. That was then, this is now, she told herself. That was then, this is now. You're a grown woman. Act like one. "Come on, slow coach," yelled Chester over his shoulder as he reached the exit. "I need a beer." Harriet darted forward to catch up with him and leaned against his shoulder. He swapped both bags into his left hand, threw his right arm across her back and squeezed her close. "This is great," he said, "isn't it? Hey, a dirty weekend away. Let's get your darned meeting out of the way, then you can show me the hot spots. How does it feel to be back?" "Good, yeah, good." "I bet," he replied without listening. "Come on, let's get out of these crowds and grab a bite to eat. I'm starving." Harriet turned to the right and plunged up the ramp toward the exit. They hustled past a pizza bar and a kiosk crammed with China windmills to emerge through a set of automatic doors onto the station plaza. Chester put down the bags and took in the scene. "Not exactly what I was expecting." "Me neither." Official photographs of Amsterdam show an expansive plaza that curves around the front half of the main station in a broad semicircle, a vibrant and welcoming space. The view that greeted them was blocked by a jagged line of plywood daubed with posters and swirls of red spray paint masquerading as art. An information board to their right illustrated the bold transformation that was taking place behind the hoarding, delivering a transformative, greener and brighter space. Why this constant drive for reinvention in the name of progress? Harriet wondered. What was wrong with how it had been before? Was this a taste of what was in store? One disappointment after another? Which way to the cabs? Over there, she nodded to the right. They skirted the wooden fence and joined the flow of weary travellers dragging along suitcases like a stream of worker ants. Harriet glanced left as they passed the dam rack. She knew the street well. She'd spent 2 months there with her mother after they first arrived. She wondered if the Dalton Hotel was still in business. Probably. Cheap rooms in a city centre would always sell well. A tram hurtled toward them and screeched around the bend to their left. Chester jumped back. "Scaredy cat," Harriet smiled. "That was close. You wait till you come up against a bike." Her eyes glinted. "Then you'll know what's what." They rounded the eastern edge of the hoarding and joined the taxi queue. Chester glanced at his watch. "Do you want to check in at the hotel first or go straight to the meeting?" "We won't have time to do both. Let's get this Henny woman out of the way. Besides, you said you were hungry, and I know a good cafe." The driver was swift, and they reached Spow in under 10 minutes. Harriet paid him, and they crossed the road toward the little beach-lined square. "Give me a sec," said Chester, stopping outside a bookshop. "Where are we headed?" "Over there, the cafe in the corner." "Okay, you go on ahead. I'll meet you in a few. I just need to duck in here." Harriet sauntered past the knots of people enjoying the weak April sunshine and grabbed a table by the large picture window overlooking the square. What had changed here, she wondered. The reds and blacks so favoured in the 80s had been replaced by muted creams, and the waitresses seemed younger, but the menu was the same. All was right with the world. "Did you find what you wanted?" she asked Chester as he joined her. "Sure did." He brandished a brown paper bag. "Got myself a map of the city." Harriet frowned. "But why? You can get it on your phone, you dinosaur." "Yeah, but it's not the same. I like to imagine the cartographers bent over their desks, employed on painstaking work that deserves our respect." He unfolded the map. It covered the entire table. "Now show me where we are." Harriet studied the map upside down for a couple of seconds to get her bearings, then planted a finger 2 squares in from the edge. "Here, near Spow. See the way the road curves? That's the junction over there by your bookshop." "Okay." "You'll have no problem finding your way around. You've just got to follow the canals." Harriet moved her finger to the left. "The Prinsengracht is on the outside, then the Keizersgracht, the Herengracht, and last the broad inner Singel." She traced her fingertip along each stretch of water as she spoke. "That's all you really need to know. I doubt we'll go beyond the Prinsengracht, though the Van Gogh Museum is quite stunning. That's over here at Museumplein, just to the north. It's where my mum and dad met. Then we must go visit." The waitress arrived at their table to take their order, and Chester gathered the map together. 2 Heinekens and 2 plates of pasta inferno later, Harriet pushed back her chair and gestured for the bill. "Time to go," she said. "Do you want me to come with you?" "Would you?" She stood up and looped her handbag over her shoulder. "I need to do the meeting alone, but it would be a comfort knowing you're close by." "No problem," said Chester. He threw €30 on the table and grabbed a bag in each hand. "Come on then, time to face the music."